Well, hello, hello. Welcome back to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm Reverend Tomas. And we're in the Manual for Teachers, which you may or may not recognize as part of A Course in Miracles. If you're brand new to it, most people think of the text and the workbook, but this manual is a very, very important component. It's a series of questions, frequently asked questions. It really actually is an FAQ section for A Course in Miracles, like you would find on somebody's website. It really is that. And these are some excellent questions. And what we're doing right now is we're going through a list of 10 answers that Jesus gives to question number 4 here. And that is, what are the characteristics of God's teachers? And first and foremost is trust, upon which all of the other 9 that he mentions specifically are based. Trust in what? In whom? In your own true self, in who you really are. That. From development of that trust, everything else stems, including the topic of conversation today, generosity. Yeah. So generosity, if you haven't delved into A Course in Miracles before, and especially if you have, this series of videos is great for beginners and experienced students alike, because as experienced students, we most certainly can benefit from seeing something again. Why? We're different. We are not the same person that looked at this the first time, whether it was a year ago or 2 years ago or 2 decades, or even within the last 15 minutes. We show up differently, so we get different things, like seeing a movie a second time, or a third time, or a fourth, or reading a novel that you really love. When you go back through it, in the exact same words that you read before, you pick out different things. You sometimes, and quite frequently, have the experience of, oh, yeah, I didn't even know that was in there. It's absolutely no different with A Course in Miracles. So you will know, no matter what your familiarity with this material is, right? You will know that the Course has the same words that we use in common parlance, but a 180-degree different meaning, which is completely deliberate and highly significant. Let's go over that. What does generosity mean to you? This is a great starting question, isn't it? What does it mean to you to be generous? So, in the eyes of the world, when we give something, we're out something. It is commonly, not always happily, but commonly and largely viewed as a transaction, like a business transaction. People tend to take a transactional approach to giving. Let's use money, for example. I've got a $20 bill. Actually, I have 2 of them, which is actually quite rare because I tend to spend cash. But let's say I give you one of the 2 $20 bills that's in my wallet right now. I'm out that 20 bucks in the eyes of the world in terms of thinking. Giving in the eyes of the world means that you're out the thing that you gave away. You lack it now. And as we see on the spiritual path, lack is one of the thought systems of the ego, isn't it? It's the ego on a platter. We feel we lack something. We feel we are short something. We feel that we're missing something. It's part of the ego in full operation, is a feeling, a sensation that we're missing something. In truth, we're actually not missing anything at all. We simply don't realize that. So we need spiritual practice. We need these constant reminders. However annoying the reminder may be at the time, however untimely it may seem, it's actually quite timely. We're always hearing exactly what we need to hear and seeing exactly what we need to see in the present moment to make the one choice that we all have, to choose the thought system of love, of the Holy Spirit, of Jesus, instead of the thought system of the ego, of lack, guilt, fear, feeling that everyone is out to get you, that you are in danger. They're coming for this, they're coming for that, they're coming for your freedom, they're coming for your house, they're coming for your bank account, they're coming for your $20. We see ourselves as individual, self-sustaining, sometimes survival units in competition. We really, truly do see ourselves in competition for what appear to be scarce resources, when in truth, everything has already been given us by our creation, through our creation by God, and we don't realize it. In A Course in Miracles, generosity has the exact opposite meaning. Rather than being out something in the eyes of the world, you give something away in order to keep it. Now that flies completely in the face of the example of the $20 bill, doesn't it? I give you $20, I don't have that $20 anymore. Well, that's what it looks like. That's what the exterior form looks like. My wallet is that much lighter. Yeah, I still have another one, but instead of 40, I've got 20. Right? In the thinking of the world, yeah, I'm out that $20, right? So what's the payoff? And we think that way. We think in terms of me, which is the definition of the ego. Me, myself and I. What's in it for me? How am I going to benefit from this? And we take this transactional viewpoint. Our entire economic system is based on it. And it simply is where we find ourselves, apparently. Apparently. In A Course in Miracles, in this thought system that we're learning, you give something away in order to keep it. This is exactly the opposite of the way the world sees it, so it bears repeating. You give something away in order to keep it. You give away what you value in your mind, to keep it in your mind. You give the love of God. You give the Holy Spirit. You give joy in order to keep it in your mind. We get this wrong because we try to get rid of our feelings of fear, of guilt. It's quite a gut reaction to project, to put our feelings of guilt and misery off on someone else, on your neighbor, on your dog, on the windstorm that came through last night and littered the pool with leaves. It can be anything. It can be anything. We've had it drilled into us to project. We learned it from our parents, we learned it from their parents, we learned it from their parents, and we all learned from the school system and the societies that we live in, and the media, and now the internet, and everything. we give away what we wish to keep, not realizing that we attempt to give away our fear and guilt and hatred. Guess what happens? It remains in our minds. And on the other hand, if you give love, that remains in your mind. Generosity in the thought system of A Course in Miracles is giving to keep. The text talks about this in many places. The workbook talks about this in many places, and Jesus emphasizes it and highlights it here in the manual because it is a characteristic of a teacher of God. Accepting that we give in order to keep. That begs the question, doesn't it? The very adult responsibility-taking, question, what are you giving? This is the question that we know is the right one to ask ourselves, and we run away from it, don't we? We run and hide, we project, we put things off on our spouse, our partner, we blame our parents for our lot in life, we blame our second grade teacher, we blame the opposition political party, we blame everyone and everything but ourselves. We don't take responsibility for the truth that everything that we see that appears to be outside us is actually going on in our own mind. So powerful are we that this literally is the way things appear to us in the world. Our mind has made all of this drama up. We chose it. Keeping the same power of choice, you do have a choice. Victim mentality? No, not on the spiritual path, right? It's exposed, and it can be painful in the moment for that to be exposed, but you are not the victim of the world you see. That's one of the ideas from the workbook. You are not the victim of the world you see. Having created it, you can, you chose it, you can choose something else. Because we're all responding. The very fact that you're watching this, the very fact that you have a spiritual practice or you're interested in spiritual practice at all, the very fact that with all of this other psychodrama going on in the world that you can certainly invest all of your life in, all of your time, every waking minute, if you want to, you're responding to this voice deep within you that keeps saying, gosh, there's got to be a different way. I've tried all this and it doesn't work for me. There's got to be another way. Well, there is another way. We call it spirituality. It is whatever form it takes for you, which could be this course, or it doesn't have to be. Isn't that nice? This is not a religion that commands obedience and adherence to all of its principles. Yeah, that's the last thing the world needs. Look at all the violence historically that's come from people insisting that they own the truth. It simply is, and it's not subject to ownership. One building that stands on the other side of the street from another building is not superior because they congregate in said building on a different day than the other people, because they have a different designated day to congregate in their building does not make them in any way superior nor inferior to the people congregating on a different day with the same God, by the way, same on another day. Doesn't make you superior or inferior. Why? There's no separation of any kind. No one is superior to another. A teacher that you see, like me, is not superior to you. I have simply answered the call, and I may have answered it prior to your answering it, although maybe you answered it on this timeline before I did. And you're using this material to reinforce your learning and to clarify your learning. And this is what has such tremendous value, doesn't it? Let's close with this. No one ever learns as much as the teacher. And A Course in Miracles 100% backs that up. We learn by teaching. We learn who we are by giving it away. Love, extending joy. By giving that away, we keep it in our mind. Think about how you feel when you give someone love, or when you give them a $20 bill out of love, not out of guilt or shame or regret, because they look like they could use it really badly, right? It's the content, the essence that matters, not the outward form. So giving love and joy can look like the example of a $20 bill, or it can look like a hug or a smile. You never know what is going to make someone's day. You never know what's going to radically alter the trajectory of their life. And maybe, just maybe, you never see that person again. So what? I will never meet many of you face to face. While I hope to one day meet all of you, that's not going to happen, is it? We speak to each other from across the world, which, by the way, is a beautiful thing. So, the spiritual path, not just A Course in Miracles, but the entire spiritual path, is all about responsibility. It's about accepting responsibility and not placing it outside yourself, not playing the victim card. We've all played it. Not placing blame, because we've all done that too. It's about taking that very grown-up, very adult responsibility and forgiving yourself, forgiving other people that may have been involved, right? Or anything like that. Forgive everything. This is what A Course in Miracles teaches us to do. And the outcome of that is by giving love, by extending love, you keep it in your mind. This is why Jesus makes it so clear, especially in the workbook, that he implores us to want the peace of God, to want only the peace of God. That is what we then give away. And guess what? That's what we keep in our minds. It's reflected back to us by the people that we give it to, by the people that we forgive. This principle applies no matter who you call yourself in the world, no matter how you refer to yourself, no matter where you live, no matter what your occupation is, your family or marital status here in the world. None of that makes any difference. These principles apply universally. So I invite you to use them, put them into use, and recognize that it's about taking this responsibility. It may seem like something you want to run from. I get that. I totally do. But you'll find that it's liberating, quite liberating. And isn't that what you want? You say you do. So here's the closing thought in the form of a question. You say that you want to be liberated. Do you?